ho! It's the Super Sunday Super Bowl Wicked Radio special on a Friday. And you're thinking, Super Bowl, why are you talking so much sports? That's not news. That's not topical. Hold on, my friends. As I said yesterday, yes, it is. A couple of different reasons why this is the Super Bowl special for today's live stream and podcast. Number one, I think we all need a little break from some of the intense stuff that happened this week. It was good stuff. It was awesome, but it was pretty heavy in the news cycle, right? And secondly, it is news. What's my mission here? Whatever's going on, whatever the world throws at us in the headlines, I bring it to you, break it down from the common man's perspective, common sense for the common man and woman, and talk about what it means to all of us. And there is no bigger news story that'll happen this weekend, I hope, unless something bad happens, than the Super Bowl. It is the largest spectacle in the world. Not only that, it is the American spectacle. Even if you're not into the sport of football, if you're still mad at the NFL, this isn't your thing, you don't even like to watch it too much, it's still somehow, some way going to consume your life because somebody's going to be talking about it or you're going to be at a party. I'm going to prep you for all of the stuff that's happening. And if you're more interested in the topical, newsy kind of angle of this thing, we're also going to get into this. There's a different vibe and a different tone for the Super Bowl that you can feel and hear and sense already. In short, it's cool to be patriotic again, and you're already hearing that at the Super Bowl. We'll get into that as well as some fun prop bets to talk about, all the particulars, the nuts and bolts of this game so that you know what you're talking about and you're fully ready to go when you show up at your Super Bowl party or host somebody. And we're going to go over some food ideas, too. That's right. We can't get any fluffier than this, but let's kick it all off. First of all, this never changes. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio. Appreciate you. As always, even though it's the Super Bowl special, the audio podcast always available wherever you choose to get those, whatever your favorite platform is. Usually about 9 a.m.-ish Eastern time. It's when it posts. If the wind and the algorithm is with me, you'll find it right there, and a lot of you have, so I appreciate that, as always. Just a thank you from me to you for the downloads and shares and all that good stuff. And always a like and a follow here on social media, on X, Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. With all that said, let's get going talking about the game. Again, not X's and O's. The event, the American event, and what it means to all of us. Because we really should, even if you don't like football, and you're still mad at the NFL for kneeling, you should take this opportunity to enjoy it, because it really is a great time to get together with friends and just enjoy what's going on, even if you don't have a betting interest or a rooting interest in these two teams or this event or this game, because you can still make it fun. And here's how. First of all, the nuts and bolts. It's Super Bowl 59 between the world champion Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Actually, a rematch from a couple of years ago. It's, of course, this Sunday in New Orleans in the formerly named Superdome. I think it's Caesars Superdome now. I don't know. 6:30 alleged start time on Fox, but it's always way after that because of all the crap and the hoopla and all this other stuff. And, you got to watch to see which commercial is the first after kickoff. It's on Fox this year, the Fox broadcast. Why do I bring this up? Well, that's where you need to find it, but also this. Who's the number one guy in the Fox NFL broadcast this year that they just brought on? One Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, if I show my bias. But also, how about this? I said this is his first broadcast of a Super Bowl, but he goes back to the site where he won his first one, February 3rd, 2002. That's right. It was on my birthday, too, as it was Super Bowl 36, the same location in New Orleans. Things come full circle, I'm telling you. All right, the national anthem will be sung by John Batiste. I don't know a damn thing about John Batiste, but he's the guy that's going to sing the anthem. Some of the prop bets you'll see probably at your Super Bowl party are how long it goes, the pause, the cheers, whatever like that. The halftime show is brought to you by Kendrick Lamar, featuring SZA. SZA. Couldn't tell you too much about them either, but you've heard me rant and rave about, actually more of a rant this week about, can we have some rock, some semblance of rock and roll back at a Super Bowl halftime show, please, at some point, somewhere? But as we saw in the Grammys, they're trying to kill off rock and roll, so I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. This is fascinating to me. It's only gone up and up and up. The cost of a 30-second Super Bowl ad, you know what Fox is charging for these advertisers? And this is why they released so many of these Super Bowl commercials early this week that you saw and heard about already, like that Coors Light one with the sloths, which is awesome, about Monday morning. They want to get their bang for their buck, and I would too if I paid $7.5 million for a 30-second spot. Whoo, massive. Along with the cultural thing, and obviously the NFL being really the new national pastime, it's a massive marketing vehicle for so many companies and brands that we all know of in our lives too. A lot of brands launched during the Super Bowl. Some of those famous Super Bowl commercials have happened during this event. So that's why we're talking about it. It's kind of all-encompassing. If you're just alive, awake, and breathing, even if you're not into this game or this sport, it'll affect you some way, somehow. But if you're not really that interested, you want to spice things up a little bit, you might want to put some money on the line, huh? Because you can do that now. Legal gambling, right? And, of course, illegal gambling, which has always happened. How much money do you think is going to be spent on this year's Super Bowl? A couple of days away. How much money is going to be on the line legally so far? Not even counting the illegal betting with Louis the Leg Breaker down the street in the alley, or whoever your favorite bookie is, or just a house party. According to our friends from the American Gaming Association, you ready for this? A record $1.39 billion are going to be spent on legal gambling on this game alone. And that's a conservative estimate, too. A record $1.39 billion will be spent on this, which is another interesting angle. So in this game, with all that money on the line, because let's face it, the NFL, along with all the other sports, they are vested. They are partners now with these online gambling sites and these FanDuel things and the sports books. There can be no question of questionable calls. If there is, they already have a major credibility problem on their hands. There's already that narrative out there that Chiefs get all the calls, right? That's already out there. You heard it. We talked about it a little on the live stream. They're in some serious trouble with that much money on the line. And if there's a questionable call that affects this game, let's hope it doesn't get to that. But it shouldn't have got to this point already. There should be no question. That is death for a league if they have any question about their credibility. So let's hope it doesn't. But how about some fun bets that aren't really worth too much unless you put some of your own money on it at your own house party? Prop bets time. You ready for this? If you're kind of like struggling, you never hosted a Super Bowl party before, you really don't know how to entertain yourself through this because maybe you're even somebody that hates both these teams. You hate the event, whatever, but you still want to have fun. Found a little list of some prop bets you might want to entertain yourself with. Well, along with the probability of these things happening. And these are just ideas, okay? Just ideas to add some excitement, maybe, to this game. Here's the first one you can bet on for fun. Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift after the game. What's the probability of that happening? And this is crazy. I don't know exactly how they came up with this, but this is what's listed. 16.7% probability of that happening. Personally, I think it's lower, but there you go. Bet as you will. A coach or player will cry during the national anthem. Let me give you some insight. I've seen every Super Bowl. Even the ones that happened before I was born, I've seen them on replay. Somebody always cries. That's a good bet. Don't take gambling advice from me. I'm just telling you, it's a good bet. There's an 81.1% chance of that happening. Somebody always cries. It's a good one to take. A quarterback catches a pass. This has happened before with a trick play, the Philly special. But doesn't happen a lot, only a 5.9% chance of that happening. This is always a fun one. Color of the Gatorade poured on the winning coach. Now, you'd have to stick around for the entire game for that one, obviously. Purple has the best odds if you want to make a choice. Purple, 32.3%. MVP mentioned first. God or Jesus is the favorite at 51. Teammates are second. We mentioned Kendrick Lamar, halftime show. I don't know a lot about him, but the chance that he mentions Drake during the halftime show, which my daughter tells me he has before in a diss track. Didn't know. It's 25% chance of that happening. I bet you it's higher. Like if even I'm aware of this and I don't know who the hell this guy is really, it's probably a higher chance that that's going to happen. He's going to mention Drake. First celebrity cameo. Now you know who's going to be there for sure. Not just Trump. Taylor Swift is going to be there. She's, of course, the favorite because she's now involved and she's like tied at the hip. We talked about her with Travis Kelce. 33.3% probability. Peyton Manning second at 25%, if you want to lay some odds on that. What team will Jason Kelce represent? Now, this is the brother of Travis Kelce, who's on the Chiefs. Jason played for the Eagles okay? Longtime player. I think guys already said he's loyal to the Eagles, so I think that's the one to go with. There's a 59% likely chance he's going to be wearing Eagle green. Okay. All right. Just some fun. Don't ever take legal or financial advice from me. I'm just a radio idiot. But just to spice up your Super Bowl party, there's some prop bets for you. All right? I told you there'd be some. And we're going to get to, I mentioned Trump there in a second. It's going to get a little heavier here in a second. But first of all, you also may need some ideas on food for your party this weekend. Here's some. What is the rest of the country going for the Super Bowl party? Are you ready? These are the number one Super Bowl foods in all 50 states. Number one, which has been number one for several years now, but it toppled the previous number one in a big way, buffalo wings. Wings are perfect. It's the perfect Super Bowl food because you can pick and move. Everybody seems to like them. You can vary up the flavors. Buffalo wings, number one in 31 states, almost everywhere east of the Mississippi. Well, what the heck is going on west of the Mississippi that they don't like buffalo wings? That's what I'd like to know. Chips, easy. In 7 states, number one. But number one? Like the number one food you look for? Chips? Really? Okay. Nachos in 5 states, number one. Colorado, Maine, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. Now, number one Super Bowl food is pizza. This, traditionally, for years before this, before I'd say a couple of years ago, was always number one because of delivery services for pizza. Pizza has fallen down to number 5 for the number one favorite food, apparently, but still always a favorite. Cheese boards, charcuterie, and loaded potato skins. Those are number one in Hawaii. Don't know how that happened. Absolutely no idea, but loaded potato skins are fantastic. Oh, they also rank dips, by the way. Big dip guy. Most popular Super Bowl tips. Here are the dips. Here are the top 5. Queso, buffalo chicken dip, 7-layer ranch dip, and guacamole. You can't go wrong with any of those dips. I'm just telling you right now. All right. Let's get serious. Not really, because we're talking about the fluffiest thing of all time, but you also know this. Here's the tone and the vibe of this year's Super Bowl I was talking about. A little bit different this year. You could sense it. We had a couple of stories during the live stream of the pod this week talking about this very same thing. And they have big media day where they talk to all the players and they ask them different things. And this is all kind of tied into the same thing. So President Trump announced that he is going to be at the game. I mean, not just an appearance. Said he's going to be there. The guy we know is a big football fan. He's already said he's a big fan of Mahomes. He can't really pick a side on that. He would sway things. But he's going to sit there and actually be involved as a spectator watching the game, which I think is interesting. Other presidents, I think there have been like 5 before, have showed up at games, but then they kind of disappear. And I would bet you Trump is going to sit there actively involved in this game, and they will show him a few times. And I'm interested to hear what the crowd in New Orleans at the Superdome, how they're going to respond to him. Well, now that he's there, and he's made some comments about these teams before, and I thought this is interesting. And this ties into the different tone and the different vibe this year I'm talking about. And what's that vibe? You can just feel it. You can see it. You can sense it. It's cool to be patriotic again. It's cool. It's cool to say you're into it and you're honored. In fact, speaking of honor, listen to this response. So they talked at Media Day the other day. They talked to Travis Kelce, and they asked him just his reaction. I don't know who asked it about his, thoughts of Trump being at the game. Really like what he said. I really like what he said. And speaking of honor, listen to this response.
It's a great honor. I think, no matter who the president is, I know I'm excited because it's the biggest game of my life, and having the president there, it's the best country in the world. So it'd be very cool.
Best country in the world, and it's an honor. Well, let me ask you this. I asked this yesterday on the live stream, and I'll ask it again if you didn't hear it. Just in your opinion, it's a hypothetical. If this was last year, same guy, Travis Kelce, he was still with Taylor Swift at the time. If he had heard Trump was there, does he give that same response? I say no. I don't think so. I don't even think he's saying honor. I don't think he's saying greatest country in the world. Here's what changed. It's cool now. Patriotism is spreading. It's a different vibe, guys. I'm telling you. It's cool for he's probably the highest profile player now. He really is. For him to say it's an honor for our current president to be there, and this is the greatest country in the world, that's a big shift, and it's pretty amazing. Also knowing that, by the way, Trump has not exactly been on nice terms with Taylor Swift in the media and social media and comments he's made and back and forth, right? So for him to say that actually means something. He also asked Patrick Mahomes about the Trump's apparently very nice comments about Patrick Mahomes. I don't know, he said something last week about something. They got that number 15 is a winner. Reminds me of when I was playing ball. He's incredible. All right, he didn't say that. I made that up, but still. Patrick Mahomes also had a nice comment response. He's very good in the media, so this shouldn't surprise you.
Yeah, I mean, it's always cool to be able to play in front of a sitting president, someone that is at the top position in our country. And so I didn't see that clip, but obviously it's cool to hear that he's seen me play football and respects the game that I play.
It's a good response. He's good at that. Nice response, too. Good for Patrick Mahomes. Very good. You know, same thing. Just there were years past when you talk about a president that maybe wasn't as controversial as Trump. People would have said no comment. You know, they would have just left it. I'm telling you, there's a different vibe in this, and it's cool to be patriotic again. And a lot of the stuff that we were kind of dealt with before, you know, the NFL has had its controversy with the kneeling. And there was a lot of Black Lives Matter signage. But here's another thing that's different. So Roger Goodell, and this is how they do things. I have followed this league for so long. I know how they operate. I know how the NFL speaks. With all this comment and all this talk about DEI recently and all these companies and organizations and certainly the government getting rid of the DEI stuff, right? Especially with Doge being involved. During Media Day, they asked Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, if you're going to get rid of DEI. Well, he couldn't come out and say that because it would have been a disaster for the guy to do it. But this is how they work. This is how the NFL works. They won't come out and say they're getting rid of their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and their signage and their messaging and their narratives, but they do it subtly. It's kind of like with the kneeling. That controversy went away when they stopped putting the camera on the kneeling players. All of a sudden, it just went away. They didn't make an announcement. They just did it, and things got better, and ratings went back up. Here's what they are doing. Here's what you're not going to see. And if you're a big football fan, you see this all the time. I'm so used to seeing it, it's just commonplace. In the end zone, they would always have, for the past couple of years, have an end racism, kind of like a message spray painted into the end zone. They're getting rid of that this year. End racism won't be there. None of the political social justice agendas will be seen or heard. Maybe on the helmets, maybe on the personal players, maybe they'll write something on their wrist guards, but not from the league. And that's another thing that's changing. So no official policy change, but they are, because everything's changing. Just make it back to sports and football and fun in this American cultural iconic thing that we all just want to have fun. It's a different game. It's going to be fun. All right. See? Told you we'd get into some stuff. That's the Sunday Super Bowl special on a Friday morning. Just enjoy it, right? Have a takeaway. Enjoy your friends and family along this. Or even if you just watch it alone, just enjoy this thing for what it is. Because I'm telling you, you can't escape it. It's too big of a media monopoly. It's going to infect your life somehow. So maybe that's some ways that you can enjoy it. So thanks for hanging out with me, as always. You can always find the podcast, audio podcast, wherever you get those. Any platform, any one you choose. Download it, share it, give me a rating, all that good stuff. There's comments on there too. Appreciate that. And a like and a follow on social media here on X or on Facebook or on YouTube and all that good stuff. And with all that said, enjoy the game. I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about on Monday. With that said, enjoy it. I'll talk to you later.